So, in case you haven't heard by now, Tina Peters, who was convicted of election interference in Colorado and sentenced to 9 years, is having her sentence commuted. I believe it's commuted by the Democratic governor in Colorado. I believe he's doing that because he wants to play nice in the sandbox with Donald Trump for the remainder of Donald Trump's term, and he doesn't want Donald Trump holding any funds or anything like that. As a result of him commuting her sentence, the Democratic Party in Colorado has already censured the Democratic governor, and his career in Colorado is probably in jeopardy because Democrats are pissed at him for this. Not to mention the fact that just because he did what Trump wants him to do doesn't mean Trump isn't going to turn on him again in the future. I mean, that's what Trump is. But this notion that Tina Peters is some innocent grandma, the way they keep referring to her, that did nothing wrong, is absolute bullshit.
Like, let's just take a couple of examples. Tina Peters is this woman who is about to get out of prison, thanks in large part to the president's good work in Colorado. This is a woman who, at worst, if you believe everything that the prosecutors said about her, committed misdemeanor trespassing, and somebody threw the book at her, this innocent grandmother was going to spend 10 years in prison, completely disproportionate to any misdemeanor trespassing that I've ever seen. Was that fair? No. Is it reasonable for her to get some compensation for the fact that she was treated unfairly? I think the answer is yes. And I think that what we're going to see, hopefully, is the entire country, led by this Department of Justice, turning the page on the lawfare. What I would like to propose, and I think the Democrats, hopefully they're willing to meet us halfway here. I won't hold my breath. But what I would propose is something very simple. That if you are willing to turn the page on Joe Biden's lawfare, why don't we prosecute people? Very simple principle. Why don't we prosecute people who violate the law? Let's not prosecute people because they said the wrong thing or because they had the wrong political candidate or because they had the wrong viewpoint. And I think part of turning the page on that is to actually ensure the real victims of that lawfare receive some compensation. That's what this fund is going to be targeted at. And again, there's going to be a process to ensure that that money is only given to people who have actually, I hate to say earned it, but the people who actually were really mistreated by the previous administration and Department of Justice.
So that was Vice President JD Vance explaining how Tina Peters is probably going to get part of that $1.7 billion slush fund of our taxpayer money for people who feel like they were wronged by the Biden administration. Now, thankfully, Republicans in Congress are already talking about wanting to kill that slush fund, and hopefully that ends up being the case so that none of these pricks get any of our money. But that's not what she did. She didn't trespass. In 2021, Peters allowed unauthorized access to Mesa County's election system, disabled security cameras in the process, and refused to comply with subpoenas and directives from the Colorado Secretary of State. The incident violated election security protocols and public trust in Colorado's election infrastructure. The judge in that case opted for a prison sentence rather than probation, citing immeasurable damage that Peters had done to the local elections and trust in the election process, her lack of remorse, and other factors. Twice during the sentencing hearing, Barrett called Peters, a charlatan who peddled snake oil that has been disproven again and again. "I'm convinced you'd do it all over again if you could," Barrett said. "You are a privileged person. You are as privileged as they come. You use that for power and fame." And no, it wasn't trespassing. A Mesa County jury found her guilty of 3 felony counts of attempting to influence a public servant, 1 felony count of conspiracy to commit criminal impersonation, 1 misdemeanor count of official misconduct, 1 misdemeanor count of violation of duty in elections, and 1 misdemeanor count of failure to comply with the Secretary of State. Forgive my harshness, but this bitch should have gotten more than 9 years. And fuck that Democratic governor in Colorado. The people in Colorado need to vote his ass the fuck out.